Beautiful. How are you? It's great to see you for our second live session during the Command Center Challenge. Today was day 3, so we've talked about designing our command center, kind of laying out our plans, what types of things we want to keep in our command center, and some of my favorite supplies to use to make a command center work so much better. So today I was going to go over some of my tips for making designing your command center and planning it out easier. And I was going to share some of my favorite things that I love to use. I've used in my command center, I've used them in some of my clients' command centers, because for the past more than 15 years of professional organizing with clients, I have built my share of command centers, and they're all different. And that's the great thing about these, because they are something that's very unique to you and what you need and what you like. So that's the fun thing about command centers. So hopefully you're enjoying the challenge so far. Like I said, today is day 3. Let me know as you're hopping on. Tell me in the comments who you are, where you're joining me from. And if you're doing the command center with me, whether you're completing the tasks already or you're just following along and plan to complete the tasks maybe this weekend, give me some love. Hit the little heart or the like button. And that way I know that you are following along and enjoying the command center challenge with me. And I see that we've already got some likes in there. That's awesome. So let me share my screen really quickly. Here we are. All right. So first off, like I mentioned, this week we are talking about command centers. So let me change which screen. Oh. I swear, I will get this figured out in a second. I'm doing this on the wrong. There we go, on the wrong computer. Hey, RJ, hey, Karen, I'm glad that you guys hopped on just in time for my silly technical challenges. Let me share my screen again, but I want to share let's share the entire screen. Okay, we're gonna have to do this one thing at a time. There we are. All right, so this is an example of a command center. Hey, Susan, Karen's hoping to get hers done this weekend. Awesome. If you're still working on your command center, give me a like or some love on this video. And that way I know that you're working on it or enjoying following the challenge. But here's, like I mentioned before, this is an example of one command center. This is one that I built for a client over in Longwood, Florida. And she has a very, very busy household because she's a caregiver. And so she had a lot of incoming papers. We made her action file, instead of sitting on the countertop, we made it with those bins that you see on the wall. And that way she can just really quickly have other people as well as herself dropping things into her action file so that she can take action on them later. She had her calendar there. She had a little notes board that we made out of a photo frame. And you just use dry erase marker on the glass and it works really well. A note section, a place for keys. There's a little mirror over the keys, so that way she can check to see how she looks before she heads out the door. Pen and pencil cup, a little supplies cup. She had everything that she needed for her command center. And around the corner were some purse hooks. So she had hooks for purses. She had hooks for her dog leashes. All of that was in that one area of her home near the entrance, because she had this great wall on the side of her kitchen. It was actually not a wall. It was the side of some built-in cabinets. So we used that. And instead of putting nails in the side of these built-in cabinets, we actually used command strips. So everything that you see is entirely removable, which is really nice if you don't want to hurt the wall or if you're just trying it out. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. But this is just one example of a command center. You can build yours however you want. Hey, Sue and Lady, welcome. Lady says, this has been very encouraging and I need the support. I'm slacking on some of these comments, aren't I? Karen's getting to it this weekend. And Merely Mom says, haven't started her center yet, but she's been inspired to start purging the junk and treasures to make space for it. That's awesome. Step 1, like it. One small step at a time. Hey, Sue. Fantastic. All right. So today, like I mentioned, we're going to talk a little bit about how to design your command center and what supplies I absolutely love in my designs of the command center. So some of the ways that I design my command center, let me switch what I'm sharing and show you. Let me see. Well, let me. All right, we're just going to do this old school. There we go. Going old school. Share the entire screen. All right. So as you can see, this is how I designed the command center for Carol. So for Carol, what we did, first off, I drew on paper. First off, I made a list. What are all the things that she needed to be able to quickly access every single day? And we realized papers were a huge part of it. She had so many incoming papers or active papers that she had to take actions on. So we knew that a large part of her command center was going to have to be paper oriented. But she also needed a communication hub because she had caregivers coming in, her sister was moving in with her. So she needed a place where she could communicate with other people by leaving notes, putting the calendar out where people can see what medical appointments were coming up since she was a caregiver. So this needed to be more of a communication hub type of a command center for her. Now, if you have kids, you might have like backpacks and schoolwork and menu plans, or if you live on your own, maybe you like to cook and you want a grocery list and your recipe ideas for the week and your purse and your keys and your charging center. It's all up to you. But once I made the list of all the things that she needed, then I started to think about, okay, what supplies could help with this? So we knew that we needed some bins for papers. We knew that we would need some message board, a holder for keys. She wanted a mirror. We knew that we would need a pen holder. All of the different types of supplies that would support this communication style command center. Once I'd listed out some of the supplies that I felt that she really needed, that's when on paper, I drew out a really rough sketch of how we could put it together. And once we felt that we had things in the right places, because we wanted to make sure that they were the right height for her to be able to easily reach. You know, if the noteboard is way too high, it makes it awkward to write on. If the paper bins are too high, it makes it hard to get things in and out of. But if they're too low, then maybe the pets will get to them. So we sketched down on paper really quickly. And then before I installed anything, I used painter's tape. And I did an outline of all of the different pieces so we could see exactly how they would lay out. And this was actually our first draft of that design with painter's tape. Because on paper, this looked really good. But once we put it actually on the wall, then we realized, okay, well, the papers bins were a little too close together to easily fit things in and out quickly. And the purse hooks meant that the purses would probably run into the paper holders. So you see, I actually taped the purse hooks to the wall with painter's tape. And painter's tape's great because it does not leave any residue. It comes off and on really quickly. It does not hurt the surface. So this was our first design. We realized that there were some things that we wanted to change. So from this design, it then became that other design that you saw. Oh, let me pull that up. Oh, I lost my window. Here we go. So you'll see that it actually became this design where we offset the papers bins. So that way we had kind of two groupings and we moved the purse hooks to a different part of that entry area. So that way she could have a mirror and she could have a note board. So laying it out with that painter's tape ahead of time really helped us see the practicality of all these different parts and pieces. So I encourage you to try something like that. If you're worried about installing some of the items, test it out first. And painter's tape is a great way to do that. See, Laura says that she can't figure out how to find my live on Facebook, so she's doing it on YouTube. I'm just so glad that you found me. That's awesome. She's getting a list together so she knows what to purchase for the command center by this weekend. Yay! So she says some of the wall items aren't available at the Amazon links anymore. I will double check those links. And we'll make sure that, I'm going to make a note to myself, we'll make sure that any links get updated because I know whenever there have been a lot of purchases, sometimes they are out of stock and we have to find them somewhere else. So I will do that. And yep, and going to home goods stores near her to see what she can find. Absolutely. And the supplies on the store that I'll show you all the store in just a minute. But those supplies will give you some ideas. Like I have these paper bins that you see in the picture on there and these cup holders and things like that. But hopefully that will spark your imagination and you can look on Amazon for other products. You don't have to necessarily get those. Great idea with painter's tape. Oh, look at that. Thank you, Edward. In interface design, it's called a wireframe prototype. That sounds very fancy. I like that, the wireframe prototype. Perfect. So the next thing that I did want to share, as Laura had actually mentioned, I have my favorite things, and let me share the link with you. I have my favorite things shop, and this has not just the command center, but it has things like my action file, paper and office organizing, Rocketbook. I did a webinar on how to keep all your notes and lists together. So some of the things I talk about there, home cleaning, kitchen organizing, I have it all kind of organized on this favorite things list. So you can just go to my favorite thing, SuzannaKaye.live/my-favorite-things to get here. And this will hopefully inspire you and give you some ideas for what you might want to use for your command center. Like I said, you can grab these things if you want, but you can also just use them for inspiration. Most of them have Amazon links if you wanted to be able to grab them. So let me take down that link so you can see better. There we are. Okay, so you can see I love having some kind of a pen and pencil holder, and I also like to have a holder for other miscellaneous things. So maybe you like to use binder clips. I know a lot of times I'll have binder clips nearby, so that way if I have a group of papers that I'm trying to keep together, or if I want to clip a paper to something, then I've got my binder clips. So those longer pen cups are really awesome for being able to keep paper clips, binder clips. I think that she even used that for her eyeglass wipes and things like that, or quick out the door things. Maybe you like to throw on some lip gloss before you head out the door. Any of that type of thing, those longer cups are really good for. You can put Post-it notes in there. And then, of course, a pen cup. If you're using an action file, now, of course, the pen cups and everything, they could also sit on a counter if your action file or if your command center is near a counter. And the action file, I've shown you my action file before. And my action file, let me do that. My action file is actually one of these desktop bins because I like to be able to move it around, but also this bin can hang on the wall. So this is in that online store. I've got a link for it. But this one can also hang on the wall if you wanted to hang on a wall. But for my command center, this is the one for my command center, and it sits on the counter because my command center is not all in one space. I don't have a lovely big wall like that in anywhere that would make sense for a command center, because the goal of the command center is to be in your really active space. My active space is when we first come in and out the door, which is for most people. Some people, it might be a recliner where you sit most of the time. Maybe that's where you do everything, and that's where you tend to drop everything when you get home. But for me, it's right near our side door where we come in every day. So this actually sits on the countertop. And this is my action file. If you don't know what the action file is, head to my website at SuzannaKaye.com, and there's a free guide on how to build an action file and what it is. But this handles all of your incoming papers, basically. So for me, I use this type of action file. But there's also, if you wanted to, there are the wall type of action files. That'll give you an idea of some of those various paper holders, because papers are such a huge part of our command centers usually, whether it's our planner or incoming and outgoing papers. Some really strong command hooks or pretty hooks, whatever you prefer, for things like purses or backpacks, or I hold my face mask. We have each of our face masks are hanging on a hook. Sometimes if I have a return for the store, then I'll keep the return in the bag with the receipt and I'll hang that from the hook, and it's right near the door. So if my purse is already hanging there, I can't forget a return because it's hanging right in front of my purse. So those hooks are really handy also for dog leashes, things like that. You'll see there's my action file holder, which I love. You can also get clear ones if you wanted for the wall. These are just some various options. Calendar. So you can do a calendar that's maybe a reusable calendar if you like to rewrite it. I'm too lazy. So I really don't want to fill in the day numbers and wipe it all off once a month. I won't get around to doing that. So for me, I just go for the regular wall calendar whenever. We don't even keep it up all year because there's only certain times of the year that we're really tracking what's going on a calendar that the whole family needs to see. So sometimes we'll have the calendar up, sometimes not, but I tend to go for the wall calendar so I don't need to rewrite day numbers. And then one of my favorite tricks that I use it around my office all the time as well. You can probably even see in my corner. Right now it's got the dog treats underneath it. So it's a little bit messy. I'll move my action file so you can see past. But hopefully you can see. You see that board right there? That is actually, I call it my woohoo board because that is just a very large frame with glass in it. And it has a nice ribbon around the edge under the glass. So it looks kind of nice and cute. And I put a little quote on it because you know me, I love my quotes. But I use a dry erase or a wet erase marker on it to write directly on the glass. And that way I can erase it with just like a damp sponge or a dry sponge, dry cloth, depending on if I use dry erase or wet erase. But this way it's a reusable note area, and it's much more fun than like a dry erase board or a whiteboard or a chalkboard. And it works really well. And the nice thing is you can also put whatever you want underneath it. Let me spin this way. So sometimes you could even print out a template. I'll show you tomorrow what we do our meal planning, and I use the same type of concept. I have, I saw the idea on Pinterest, and I have a grouping of frames for each day, and I write down what we're going to have for dinner each night. So yeah, I love using picture frames with either a pretty background in it or a plain background and using that as a wet or dry erase board. And with my woohoo board, I call it the woohoo board because I write down some of my achievements throughout the year. It's so easy to forget where you came from and how short of a time it was since you hit a milestone. So for example, on my woohoo board, let's see. I had my first employee who started on payroll. You've met her in the group, Stephanie. She started actually on payroll this year. And I wrote that down because that was kind of an exciting milestone for me. And that was in the very beginning of April, which is super fun. And yeah, if you've met Stephanie in the Facebook group or she helps me with the emails and things like that, she's absolutely amazing. You probably love her too. But I have that written on the woohoo board. And this way, when I'm feeling like I'm not getting as far with all of my to-do list items and I'm feeling like things just aren't moving as quickly as I want, because I always want to share so many things with you that I just don't have time to get them all together as fast as I want. Whenever I'm feeling like things are just going too slow, then I can look at the woohoo board and be like, you know what? Just in April, that's when Stephanie went on payroll. Or, you know, this is when I launched a product or did a webinar or whatever my milestone was. And that really gives me a better perspective. Oh, Laura says Stephanie's awesome. Yes, she is, isn't she? I'm glad that you love her too. She's amazing. Hi, Stephanie, if you watch this later. But yes, so I have some picture frames in the list because that's what I use them for. You can put them on the countertop or you can put them on your command center wall. You can use them for to-dos. Another one that I have here, actually. I do this so often that I even have a desktop one for my one thing for the day. Like if I do one thing today, and it like what one thing will make me feel like today was a success. And I have my little dry erase one, and I write the one thing that if I get it done, then I will feel like the day was a success. And that sits on my desktop. So you can use it for so many different things. Oh, and Laura found me on Facebook. Yay. Awesome. All right. So those magnetic little notepads, I love those. And the way that I install those in a command center is instead of actually using a command strip or something to attach them to the wall, I actually use a command strip to attach a magnet to the wall wherever I want a notepad. So that way, when the notepad's empty, then I can just pull it off because it's magnetic and put a new one on. So you see the magnetic tape. I do a lot of things with magnetic tape, and that's fun. You could also do, I found like these cute little grocery list notepads. You can do your own grocery list or create your own template. If you're not doing a full command center, then maybe all you need is a space for hanging keys and leashes, maybe some of the, active papers that come into the house before they hit your action file, your sunglasses, whatever. So you might just want to look at some smaller units. And then you'll see this tomorrow, but that little white cloud magnet key holder, I love key holders, and we have this white cloud, it sticks to the wall and it's magnetic. So our keys just stick right to the holder. So we come in and we just hold our keys up to it and they stick and they hang from the cloud. It's super cute. But you'll want to make sure probably to have a place to store keys and also probably a charger nearby if you want to charge your devices near there. We have chargers all over our house because you never know where you're going to need a charger. So sometimes you might just want to store charging cords in your command center. Maybe you don't need a permanent charger, whatever you need. These are some more command strips. If you have a hidden area that you can put a charging station, there's a really cool wall hanging charging organizer that's in there. And there's this bamboo organizer. This is kind of like what I have for our charging base. Ours is a little bit different because this is a nicer one that came out after the fact. But having a nice charger that holds all of those cords out of the way is super awesome. So give me like some likes or some loves, or tell me in the comments if any of these sound like stuff that you would find useful. So the thing to the right of that charger there, I love these types of things. So these are basically little clips that hold pens. So if you don't want to have a whole pen cup, or maybe if you have one of those frames that you're using for dry erase or wet erase markers and you just need one marker near it, then you can actually attach these little tiny clips to the wall and it'll hold just the one pen or the one marker right near where you need it. So those are handy to have wherever you could use them around your house. I use them in a million different places. So those are the main things that I like to use in my command center. Like I said, papers tend to be sort of a highlight in my command center. So I tend to use a lot of things to organize papers and to take notes and keep lists all together. You might want to keep one of those metal or those paper holders. If you did my webinar, which is still in the store on my website, if you have not done the webinar and you want to, but if you did my webinar on the notes, let me see if I can actually pull it up, on the notes and lists, organizing how to keep all of your notes and lists in one place and organized using notebooks, then you can probably store those notebooks right in your command center. So I can show you, there you go. So in the store, I'm talking about this webinar. If you did this one, we had so much fun and everybody loved this webinar. But we talked about using notebooks, and those notebooks you can use to keep, like one notebook can keep all of your lists in it, no matter what the list is, or all of your different ideas and various things that you jot down, all those notes, like random phone numbers and all of that stuff. We talked about all of that on the webinar. Oh, thank you, Sherry. Sherry says, brilliant webinar. I'm so glad you loved it. Everybody seemed to love this webinar. And I think it's only in the store for another month as the replay. But this is the perfect place in your command center. If you grab one of those paper holders, like the magazines are in that picture, then you could even keep some of your list notebooks or your bullet journal style notebook, whichever type you set up. You could keep it right in there in your command center, which is a perfect place to keep all of that information, because then it's your one-stop shop. So the goal of the command center is to be kind of that one place where you can kind of find everything that you need for your daily life. And when you have one specific place for something, basically, you know how I always talk about breaking things down into small steps to make them super clear, so you don't have to worry about the other steps. You only have to worry about the next step, and it's super small, so it's not intimidating. The same type of concept works with where you store your things. If you have one place, one small place, not a huge basket, but one small place that's dedicated to a specific thing, then it's so much easier to put it back, to find it, and for your brain to remember where it goes, that it makes everything easier. So if you had like the one bin on your wall that only held your list notebooks, then that would be perfect, because then they can't wander away and your brain will come up with where to find them a lot easier. It just makes the mental side of things so much easier. Oh, Laura says, so we can watch the replay of the notes webinar for $30. Yes, absolutely, you can. And once you do grab the webinar, then you have access to it longer than just the month, but it'll only be available in the store for a month, because when I do a webinar, then I don't offer it for very long. I want to make sure to not overwhelm you guys with 5 million webinars in the store and just focus on the 1 or 2 that we've been working on. So good question. All right. There were a couple of questions that I also wanted to answer that people asked earlier. And first off, we had Julie had asked, she says that she uses both a digital and a paper planner, but she gets confused about what to put in both. So when she's thinking about this command center, does she need a paper planner? If so, should it go into her command center? What is she really using it for? So she can figure out, should this even be in the command center? And okay, Julie, so I also use a paper planner or versions thereof and a digital planner. So my digital planner is really just my digital calendar, and I only use that for events that have the specific time and date. And the nice thing is it's shared with my husband, so he can see when I'm busy or when we have a shared event. They sync together because I've got it through a Google Calendar that then syncs with whatever calendar thing he uses. I don't even know what he uses, but I use Week Calendar, WEEK CALENDAR. It's an app from the App Store on iOS. So for iPhones, I think that they probably have it for Android. I don't remember off the top of my head, but my Week Calendar app I use for anything that actually has a specific time. So it's a calendar event. And then my paper planner, and it depends on what I'm doing at the time. And I change my paper planners multiple times throughout the year because I don't really use them for the events as much as I use them for more of my to-dos and kind of planning out my week. So sometimes I'll use this type of paper planner, which I love, and I'll rewrite the events that I need to plan around just that I can then figure out, okay, what do I need to do this week? What's the most important priority? Sometimes I'll even give myself little intentions or quotes or rewards if there's something that I'm really working hard towards. So this is the Freedom Mastery Planner. I love these guys too. If you're a paper planner person, I don't know how well you can see that. A little bit. Freedom Mastery. But I use this one sometimes. I use this more for like the major planning because they've got a whole section at the beginning for figuring out your goals and all of that like woo stuff that I love, all the mental side of things. A lot of times though, I will actually use either these little Rocketbook reusable note cards for my day, for my to-dos, or an actual Rocketbook. Either sometimes I cut out the pages or I actually have, got it right here on my desk, so I use it all the time, the actual Rocketbook. And I just like these because you can erase them and like you just wipe them clean and write on them again. So for me, my paper planners I use for all of the brainstorming, all of my to-do items, my notes, just everything that's not necessarily a specific time. So I might rewrite the things for the day that are the time, like timed events that I had to work around, but then the rest is my day planning. And that's what I do my paper planner for. And for the Rocketbook stuff, on that favorite things store, you'll also see the Rocketbook stuff. Sherry says that she also uses both. Apple allows my entire family to share a calendar. Yeah, it's so nice having these where you can share them now. It makes such a huge difference, right? I remember when I could not do that and I had to tell my partner everything. I'm like, oh my goodness, good luck remembering if I told everybody everything. So that was Julie. Also, I had the question, how do you set up a command center near a recliner? Oh, Sherry just shared, there's a coupon code, yay, for right now for Freedom Mastery. They have a sale and the coupon code is July 4th for 20% off. Yay. Yes, I love Freedom Mastery. If you like paper planners and want like all of the extra mental side of things, they're really good. So how do you set up a command center near a recliner? So, and I remember that this was a question from somebody who spends a lot of time kind of in the recliner due, I believe, to health problems and all of that fun stuff, which none of us really ever want to have to deal with. But sometimes it is what it is and we have to. So near a recliner, to have your own sort of command center, you could, if you have a wall near your recliner, then that might be a really good place to do either a full command center on the wall or a bookcase command center. If you don't have a wall, then you could do a shorter bookcase style or a table style, like a small table. And that way you could create your own little command center. Here's one example from Pinterest. It's on my Pinterest board. This is not my photo, but on the pin, it has all the information. And I just scrolled past. Here's the other one. So these are some examples of sort of turning a bookshelf into a command center. So this is really good if you do have a wall near you, or you could also kind of split up your command center and do a bookcase if there's a wall maybe near the recliner, but not right next to it where it's super easy to reach. Maybe that's where you could put things such as your action file. And you can have an action file like this where you can pick it up and move it next to your recliner when you're working on it and put it back on that bookshelf command center when you're not working on it. That's where like your extra supplies that you're not using every single day could go, but you're using often. So maybe you have just a little bin of binder clips and a stapler and pens and highlighters, but you could put the bookshelf near the wall, and then you could do maybe a smaller table right next to the recliner. And I'm wondering if I don't know that I have a good picture of a table pinned that could be a command center, but this is probably the closest. You could either do a table or even a dresser, like a very short dresser could work. But on that table, you could have, if you get a table that has the open areas underneath, then you could easily have some bins where maybe one small bin has, pens, pencils, chargers, charging cords. You could have your full charging station if you wanted to. You could have your notebook with either your notes or your lists, whatever type of notebook you set up, like we talked about from the webinar. So having something like this where it's not as much drawers, you can do drawers, but I do find that drawers get cluttered a whole lot faster because we do tend to, just quickly dump things in drawers sometimes, and they get pushed to the back of the drawer. And then it's hard to find it again because now you have too much stuff in the drawer. So you could do a small dresser with drawers, but I do prefer having the open spaces, especially because then you can pull a basket out of that open space to put it on top or on your lap and work on whatever it is that's there, and then tuck that basket back in. Versus in a drawer, you kind of have to pull things out individually or the baskets get awkward. So that's what I would do for a recliner style, like next to a recliner sort of command center. I would probably do the small table, whatever style you have, with openings. I would keep chargers, and you'd probably want your calendar near it. You can have one of those little organizers on top, kind of like you see there, but be super specific about what you want to keep there, and keep, just your calendar and your notes and lists notebook in that organizer. And then maybe your action file can be in a command bookshelf nearby where you can pull it over when you're working with papers, put it back when you're done. Because with the action file, like I mentioned on my website, I have the guide. If you don't know how to build an action file or what it is, then on the website, I do have a free guide. It's SuzannaKaye.com. I don't have a banner for that, do I? But yes, so at SuzannaKaye.com, I was trying to pull up a picture, but I don't have it. Then I do have a free guide for the action file that you can sign up for. And having that nearby is going to help you, just having the pens and the pencils and all that great stuff. So that was a great question that I had. If anybody else has any other questions, let me know. If you've enjoyed this live, then please, give me a like, give me a heart, share it in the comments, tell me what you think. We're wrapping it up now. You guys are doing amazing with this challenge. Now, this weekend, I have a free virtual organizing session that you can join. I'm wondering if I put it in here. I don't think I have the link here right now, but I will share the link with you. And also, you know what? I'll share the link here as well. So here's the full schedule for the Command Center Challenge, and I will add onto the schedule the link for the free organizing session. Let me write a note to myself right now. Add. Okay. So in the group, we will share this schedule link as well. We will share the sign up for the free virtual organizing session. So the virtual organizing session, I'm wondering if I can bring that up too, is 2 hours this Sunday. So this Sunday, we will all be able to hop onto Zoom and work side by side on whatever organizing project you have. So if you want to sort papers, you can bring your papers to sort. Here we go. If you want to work on your command center, you can work on your command center. Whatever you want to do, you can join me for this free virtual organizing session. And we'll all hop on Zoom together, and there will be little sprint times. So we'll do about 20 minutes of focus time where there'll just be music, and we'll all be working on video next to each other, and you'll be able to see all of us working. And then I'll do little 10-minute breaks where you can keep working if you want to, or you can take a break, and I'll answer any questions that people have. I'll share tips and ideas, and then we'll do another 20 minutes focus sprint. So that way you can get something on your calendar. So that way you can really get through some of these more like either difficult tasks or ones that you've been procrastinating about, or if you just don't like to organize on your own, then this is the place for you. Perfect. So you're so welcome all. And Sherry, yes, Sherry was on our group hike. So in the Paper Path membership, which is an opening enrollment also later this week, in the Paper Path, puppy, hold on. Mailman's here. But in the Paper Path, we do this twice a month. We're going to be doing it twice a month. We'll have called a group hike, and it's a work session that we all do together on Zoom. And Sherry was on one recently, the last one, right? And yeah, she liked my playlist. I love the playlist of music. All right. Lady will be in church. That's okay. Not a problem. You can also, if you sign up, you can get the replay. So when you watch the replay, and Sherry knows because we had the replay in the Paper Path membership in the online library, you can watch the replay, and it's kind of like you're there with the people live. Even though they're not live, it still feels like it. So please feel free, sign up and get the replay. Lily says, help with files. They always become confusing and overstuffed. That's something I can't really go over that too much right now, because that is such a massive topic on its own. But the Paper Path, when that Paper Path enrollment opens, I believe on Saturday is when it's going to open. The Paper Path is exactly what will help you with that, because it tells you not only how to sort all of your papers. If you have a lot of papers to sort, it'll help you figure out how to make those decisions, what to keep or go, how to get through sorting all of them, exactly where to file them, how to set up your long-term files, your short-term files, your action file, how to set up your important papers. And it breaks it all down one tiny step at a time. That's why it's called a path, because it takes you on the path from, managing those incoming papers, sorting them all the way through to getting your most important papers organized and quick grab. So keep an eye out for the Paper Path later this week when that opens up. That will help you out. It's so useful, especially if you feel like your files are overwhelming. So you said so many great ideas. I'm a work in progress. We all are, right? If you're not a work in progress, then I don't think that you're going to last on this earth much longer. We're all still learning, right? So wonderful, wonderful. Join me for the virtual organizing session this Sunday if you can, or at least sign up to get the replay, and it's going to be so much fun. Oh, Sherry says, plus a Spark Life Binder helps. Absolutely. The Spark Life Binder to hold all of your important papers is such a relief. It's so much easier. Well, all right. If you have any questions, if you're watching this on the replay later, or if you're here now, this is your last chance. Lily says, some people say they no longer use filing systems. Are you aware of that option? I am. I absolutely am. And I talk about those options. Actually, there's a personality test within the Paper Path. And one of the options is, if you're the type that does not enjoy filing systems, what you would do instead. So absolutely, there are options if you don't want to file, and there are options if you just want to file a tiny bit. But for the most part, you don't want to, for sure. Kathy says, happy for this resource. Awesome. Nice to see you, Kathy. It's been a while. You're so welcome. And I will see you all on Sunday. I'm super excited to have you there. And I'm sure the puppy will probably interrupt us at some point during that too. I love you all so much. You are absolutely beautiful. You're doing amazing. And I will see you very, very soon. Have a wonderful day. If you have any more questions, ask them in the comments. I will make sure to keep an eye on the comments of this video too. I love you. Keep it up, beautiful. You're doing amazing.